Nico! I have done better than you. I have solved the cube of Rubik's. And I made it disappear. Haha! What's up, guys? It's Bro Cobra again. I'm getting tired of saying this, but we're almost done. We're almost there. We just have this one and the next one. This one, as you can't tell with all the beautiful colors flying everywhere, is the colorful part of the set. Okay, this is the part where Nico Bedazzle sits on his Aiya throne next to Niv Mizzet with a tizzy. We got our rankings going from A+ to F- once again. Do we give any cards in the colorful part of the set of War of the Spark the A+, gold star, pat on the back? You'll have to stay tuned and watch. And it's a long one.
Normal green. We are in the colorfuls.
Okay.
Dovan's veto. Don't put it in your deck.
Sideboard B.
Sideboard.
Sideboard B, I think.
I think I put it as like a D- or something. Just
Yeah,
don't put it in the
probably
main.
don't want to put it in your main deck. Unless like this is way more planeswalker centric than I think it is.
Yeah, but I highly doubt that. Oh, C-. I guess there are some bombs that are spells.
All right.
I don't know.
Can we move on?
Yeah.
Alright, next is Dovan, Hand of Control. Originally was pretty low on this, and then I played that blue-red spells deck with a pretty good amount of proliferate. And also, it's really annoying against the blue-red spells deck. You have like the one big threat, like your Spellgorger weird, and then it makes all your instant sorceries cost one more. So I think it's more closer to a C-. Although I think I can think of a lot of white or blue decks that just never put this card in your deck. But
I think it's a C-. If you
I agree
pick
with C-.
up what's the white?
It gets better with proliferate, just like some other planeswalkers.
If you pick up single combat, pick this highly.
So he can minus to fog that creature.
Yeah. Or planeswalker.
Yeah.
It's permanent.
It's any permanent.
Teferi Time Raveler.
Teferi Time Raveler.
In limited?
In limited, he's not as good as he is in constructed, I'll tell you that. Where is he?
There's scenarios that you could pick him up and play him. The draw a card effect and bouncing something might be okay. But like, I don't think the sorcery speed is gonna be like relevant at all. Maybe like minor, but I put him as like a C- or D+.
Yeah, I find him.
He's on the first pages.
On the red page. Okay.
Pages on pages.
I gave Teferi a B.
Jesus.
The ability to cast sorcery speeds. What do you give him?
C- or D+.
Wow, you really don't like him. I don't know. I mean, like on his floor, he's an Arrester's Admonition, which was a very good card, and I've seen him in play, and he's been pretty annoying. Like, comes down, bounces something, or he just starts plussing, and then they just hold up their sorceries on your turn, and then sometimes he threatens to bounce another creature. He just does enough to be a B, I think.
I don't know. Like he can like protect himself a little bit, but like his +1 normally doesn't do anything. You have to have like a lot of sorceries to gain the benefit of him.
Yeah, I mean,
if he's playing against a creature deck, he's just dead.
You're playing him for the -3
to draw.
So
a
like,
card?
kind of at his floor, he's like an Arrester's Admonition that could stick around and do it again. Like, they kind of have to. I mean, they mostly have to deal with him.
If I want money, I'll pick him, but
and he turns off all of their combat tricks forever.
All right, I'll just whatever you want to call him. I don't think he's
Okay.
great. I think he's pretty bad, but
I think he's pretty good. So
what's up, Grats?
That's why he's a B.
He's a B. That's shitty, dude.
You don't have to agree with me.
You're picking him over Nissa?
No, this is an A. We agreed.
You're picking
on
him
that
over
one.
Challenger Troll? That's not possible.
Probably not pack 1, pick 1 because he's a gold card. But I think,
even pack 2.
But I think power level wise, he's a B. I think he's a B in blue white. I don't know if he's really that splashable, but it's a strong card.
All right, we got Elite Guard Mage. Blue white 2 for a 2/3 flyer. When he enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life and draw a card. This guy's sweet. In your control deck?
I agree. This card's sweet. Just tons of value.
C plus.
Like
I
almost
said.
Wow.
I think he's what you want in a control deck.
The thing's almost Mold Drifter, and you gave it a C.
C plus.
C plus.
I don't want more than 2 in the deck.
I will play like any number of these I can get. It replaces yourself, and it draws 3, gains you life, and it has flying and more than 1 power. I disagree with you and Rats. I think this card is great, and I think it's even splashable. So I think this card is it's about as good as Teferi, so I also gave it a B. Just on power level.
Oh well,
I could downgrade it for pack 1, pick 1, because like it doesn't make every single one of your decks.
We're gonna disagree on all the Aureus cards. It's okay.
Oh, are we? I wonder what you gave Time Wipe. It's the last Aureus card, I think.
So good.
Maybe we won't disagree on Time Wipe.
Well, I said earlier, like, I might overvalue board wipes, but I said B plus or A minus.
I gave Time Wipe. At first, I gave it an A plus, but I think
holy shit,
it's because it doesn't kill planeswalkers. I've downgraded it to A. Like, this is just like the perfect board wipe. You get to save your best card.
This is way better. Yeah,
this is better than Teferi. I agree. Teferi's only a B. This card's an A. This card is great. You take it. You probably splash it in your white decks. Always play it in blue white. Very strong card. Time Wipe. Better than every common and uncommon, for sure.
Yeah, I'll go up to an A. It's a card that could potentially win you the game. Actually, yeah, I agree.
It's like a huge blowout.
Huge blowout.
Always a huge
Guild
blowout.
Gate! Shitty.
That's not actually in the
Cruel
set.
Celebrant.
But yeah. Cruel Celebrant. Where is the Cruel Celebrant?
Black white.
Oh, I see it.
I'm going to play black white.
I think this is what black white wants to be doing, I guess. I don't actually know what black white's color identity is. Kind of weird in this set.
It's confusing.
I
gave it
I gave this
C
card
minus.
a B minus.
B minus?
Yeah. Like, I think you always play it when you're black white, but I don't think you really want to splash it. I think it's powerful. Like, if it stays on the battlefield, your opponent's gonna have a bad time. Everything they do is like everything they interact with is gonna drain you.
Or another creature you control dies. Each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This is good in like Double Dragon, but I don't know. Like, black white is kind of like a confusing thing to put in the first. Like, you're trying to put +1/+1 counters on the battlefield.
I'm not really sure what black white's trying to do, to be honest.
You could be amassing and like sacrificing, so like I can see that it could be a little bit better. But as like a 1/2, I don't know. Like, you might just get overrun by your opponents, unless you have like a bunch of like token generators or something to like sacrifice all the time.
Well, I think this card is a B minus on power level, but I don't really know.
What was Blood Artist?
I don't really know what kind of a home this is. What was Blood Artist in?
What was Blood Artist in Innistrad?
Blood Artist was probably like a B. That card is better than this one because it drained your opponent every time any creature died. And this is only your creatures and planeswalkers.
I can go up to a C plus.
All right.
I don't want to push it into
That's
the
fine.
B.
C plus or B minus for Cruel Celebrant.
D-Spark.
D-Spark.
I think this card is pretty good.
I think this card is pretty good. I keep
Exile
hearing
is
about
awesome.
people not being able to target what they need to, but like this just exiles every bomb, except for like the early game bombs. Like it doesn't help you answer a Gideon or a Krenko, but it helps answer gods and all the powerful planeswalkers. It just answers their bomb. I think you
I
just
could put
always,
it up to a B then.
I think
had it
it's
at
a
B
B.
minus, but I guess like if it's the card that's gonna beat all your opponent's bombs, then
I mean,
yeah. I mean it's
it's
possible.
possible. It really
For
depends
sure.
on the context of the format. If there's a lot of decks that are not playing things that like get owned by this, then this card goes down. But I think at worst, this is just it's an amazing sideboard card at the very worst, and I think you just always main deck it. You can board it out when it's bad, and I don't think it's going to be bad very often. B for D-Spark.
B. Oath of Kaya.
Oath of Kaya, I like this card. I also carded this card a B.
I did C plus.
So the things I like about Oath of Kaya is it's 3 damage and 3 life. So it's a lightning helix. It can hit anything, so it's just lightning helix. Plus, if they ever attack your planeswalker, you drain them too.
Yeah, and so like even in constructed,
Which is just really powerful.
playing like multiple of them, if you ever get the chance in limited, like it's still okay. Like lightning helix for 3 is fine. Especially in like a limited type format. Just the added effect that you get with it, and like the really low count on being able to destroy an enchantment is pretty good with this.
Yeah, this is a great removal spell with upside. That's why I gave it a B.
I'm okay with that.
Alright, B for Oath of Kaya. And then our next card is Soren.
Oh yeah, it was starting to underperform for me too. Soren.
Soren, where
He's
is
really good.
Where is he? Yeah, I agree. He's
Giving
really good.
lifelink to your creatures. He's on the first one.
And your planeswalkers
And you're playing
during your turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa, I
There he
overvalued
is.
this shit. Alright.
I'm changing the rating that I initially had. I'm giving Soren an A minus.
Oh, cool. I thought I overrated it. I said A minus.
This card it protects itself really well. It generates a lot of value. Just all the life that it gives kind of protects you, and it protects itself by just plussing 2, and it can just get back any creature you want from your graveyard with enough loyalty. It's just I don't know. It's just a really powerful card. This is the card, by the way, that gave me a Vampire Fibblethip.
Vampire Fibblethip?
I'm -2 Soren and sealed, and puts Fibblethip onto the battlefield and drew a card. It's great.
Alright,
A
well,
minus for Soren.
lifelink for your whole team is also like
That's like
so huge.
his best ability.
Yeah, A minus.
A minus for Soren.
Kaya!
Play it in your black-white decks. Splash it in your other decks.
Exactly.
Kaya, Bane of the Dead.
I'm gonna change it. I said C minus,
Oof.
but I'm gonna put it up to C plus, only because of that mana cost.
I just put her up to B plus.
B plus?
Yeah. You can cast her. She just exiles like 2 things, and then if you proliferate her, she can do it again. Just a 2-for-1. I
If
think.
you're playing in a 2-color deck that has either but not both white and black, white or black, would you play her? Like triple white or triple black is kind of hard to get to, right? Especially when
It
you don't have like
is.
mana fixing.
It's not that easy. You want to play like at least 9 sources of that color to be casting her consistently on turn 6 or 7. When you play her, like you don't play her. Yeah, you play her in your like decks have 9 black or white sources, and you always play her in black white.
So like, outside of giving your creatures like hexproof with the 1 blue spell or whatever, her static ability is not too relevant, right?
No,
But her minus
she can
is
exile
huge.
that croc, I guess.
The croc.
Or an army when they have Gleaming Overseer.
And
but
like
other than that, her passive, you don't play her for her passive. You play her because she's like 2 removal spells and 1 card.
so good. Okay,
That's why I gave her.
I'm gonna go up
B+.
to a B though because like the mana base might just be too encumbersome.
Maybe she could be a B, but she's really powerful and she's one of the best uncommon planeswalkers.
All right, I'm gonna leave mine as a B, but her power level is definitely B+.
B for Kaya.
B+.
B or B+.
Soul Diviner.
Soul Diviner.
Or Diviner.
I gave Soul Diviner a B-.
Diviner.
There's so many counters you can remove and turn into cards.
I gave it B or B+. I think with the amount of amass in the format, you're almost gonna draw a card like every turn.
Yeah.
It makes Blast Zone able to destroy tokens. Yay!
Makes Blast Zone draw you a card.
Yeah, right.
Which is why part of the reason I like discarding constructed is Blast Zone. But I think I could go up to
Can
B.
you go B?
B for this card.
B?
I don't think this
Okay.
card's quite as good as some of the B pluses that we've been giving, but
And
it,
it's like
and it is a gold card, but it is really powerful and it can draw you a lot of cards and you don't have to build around it that much.
So a soft B, I think is fine. I
B-
can
B
lean
for
more
Soul
towards
Diviner.
you as well.
Sure.
I
I think I got
Tyrant
to
Scorn.
change my rating for Tyrant Scorn. Initially, I thought that it did both, but you only get to choose one, which makes it a whole lot worse when you have to choose. So
Going over some of our other removal spells, I might be too hyped on this card.
this card kills armies in 2 different ways.
Yeah. It can also destroy them lands.
Oh, I gave this card
B-?
a B-. Yeah,
Okay.
we're in agreement.
Sweet.
Like it doesn't. It's kind of the opposite of D-Spark. Like it's probably never really going to be dead except against like the most controlling decks. You probably won't want it,
Yeah.
but just good value early in the game.
It
It's not
shouldn't
really
be
something
dead.
you want to splash though. It's like once you have it, like you
No.
don't really want to be spending your splash mana on that.
No, it's not. It's not powerful enough.
And that's
For a
that's
splash,
why it's a
but-
B-. Whoa,
Still solid.
Ashiok. This is a controversial card.
All right, so I have 2 for this. All right. First grade is an F. If you only have 1, you have no other mill options. It's pretty bad unless your opponent's doing like a heavy graveyard strategy. So it's kind of like Karn in the same aspect of like he's just useless.
Well, we haven't rated Karn yet, but
But-
we keep talking about how Karn is so bad.
Yeah.
Um,
but
so-
if you have like probably 3 or more,
So I agree. Ashiok, I mean, alright, in this format, Ashiok's passive doesn't do anything. You're playing it as like a mill win condition, and it needs help for that. Like, you need to be able to protect it. If you can protect it and you can get 5 activations, they'll probably die as long as you can survive till the late game. And if you can protect it, or you have multiple Ashioks, or you have Aid the Fallen, or you can
Bond
proliferate
of
it,
Insight.
then it gets Bond of Insight too. Then it gets a lot better and becomes like a real win condition if you can protect it and proliferate it, or you can just you have more than one, or you can bring it back with Aid the Fallen. Then it is a really good win condition.
Yeah.
So that's why I think on its own it's probably like a D or an F, but if you have the ability to protect it, proliferate it, or bring it back, then it can be like a C+, and it can be a real win condition.
If you're able to have 2 or 3, and like maybe like a spark double, or if you have like the Bonds of Insights, or if you have like ways to protect it with a bunch of removal, this could be a B+.
You definitely need a way to protect it. You need
Because like usually people only have 30
Ashiok
cards.
needs help.
Yeah. And if you're milling yourself, you really need to have like a good reason to do it.
Jace.
Jace, I guess. But...
I think you need Jace if you're milling yourself with Ashiok. Plus Ashiok, I mean, the reason Ashiok doesn't get a good grade is just Doesn't protect yourself. Doesn't affect the board
at all.
At all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Most of the time in F. Or D, I guess.
Yeah.
This wonderful card.
I think actually just build around C+. But Gleaming Overseer. It's another blue-black card. I like this card a lot. It's a lot of power and toughness for 3 mana, and it's amazing in the amass decks. Giving your army token menace and hexproof is just so good. They just have to deal with this Overseer, or they can't deal with your army. And having 4 toughness makes it actually not that easy to deal with. I give this card a B-.
I said C+.
I think even in an amass
you need to
deck,
have
like
an amass strategy.
a pretty good blocker at least.
Like if your amass token is on the board and 4 power or more, then Challenger Troll makes it pretty insane.
I think this is
But
Challenger Troll makes your army with this card just nuts. Just the most miserable thing. A hexproof, unblockable giant creature.
But on its own, its toughness, like you said, is pretty awesome. It's pretty hard to deal with, but I think it's not B worthy. I think I'm gonna take a bunch of different cards over this.
B-,
one.
C+.
B-, C+.
I think it starts C+, and then the more synergy you have, it gets better.
I like that answer. I like that a lot better.
But it has solid stats, and this is the card that you want to make your army deck really good.
Yeah. Enter the God
really good army cards. It's Enter the God Eternals.
This does everything I want.
I love this card. I hate playing against this card. It's so good. I've played with this card in Sealed and in Draft, and it's always amazing. 4 damage doesn't kill everything, but it gives you so much value. And the 4 life can really catch you up if you're behind. I give this card an A.
So, I haven't played with it in constructed or limited formats. I gave it a B+. Just because it does so much. Does everything you want it to do.
It does so much.
I
recommend forking this with Ral's -2. It's a good feeling. It's very good.
Also,
it's good without that. It's just a very, very good card. It's like a
it's
like a 4/4 Chupacabra with lifelink. It's like a Flame Tongue Kavu with lifelink.
There you go. And
there
it
you
mills.
go. Yeah, and it mills.
Yay!
It mills just to F your bolt bend.
But you can
just so you can't bolt bend it. That's why
format
it mills.
solved.
Get wrecked, bolt bend. So,
but
do you still think it's?
I don't think it's going to outright win you the game, and I feel like that's where A's should go, is game winning cards or cards that are just. I don't know.
Maybe.
But
it's not really a bomb. It's just an insane 2-for-1.
I consider it a bomb
that also gains you life.
This card's I consider this one a bomb.
It's basically a 3-for-1.
Yeah.
You get a 4/4 that gains you 4 life, and you destroy a creature with 4 or less toughness.
And you build your Ashiok deck.
Yeah. I think this card is.
But since I haven't played with it, I can defer to your judgment.
Yeah,
so
I still think that's an A.
An A.
In limited, it's kind of like a better Chupacabra.
It's a removal. It's life gain. It's a creature. It's
you take it. You play
a mill
it.
card.
You play it in your blue decks. If you're not playing black in your blue deck, splash it.
Tezzeret.
I splashed this card as the only black card in my blue-red spells deck, and it was awesome every time.
I bet.
I played one swamp and 1 Gateway Plaza, and it was great.
So,
but that deck drew a lot of cards. This is not a limited card. You can't open this card in a booster pack. We're skipping Tezzeret.
Sorry, I was just going in order.
Tezzeret's not a limited card, man.
I was so ready.
Okay.
I was like, F.
Next is Invade the City.
Invade the City.
I think this is a build-around card. it's like more of a build around than the Cyclops, because at least the Cyclops has an impact on the board, even if it is a 5-mana 4/2 at least.
Which one? With
I
the
don't know
dinosaur.
what page this is.
Oh, okay. With Hutley's Raptor, top right. Hutley's Raptor, I think it was in the yeah, that one, top right.
Oh, okay, I see it.
So I gave this one a D or B minus. You don't cast it turn 3. You don't cast it turn
it's
4,
either
5, 6, 7.
You'll know when you want it. You'll have a whole bunch of instant sorceries cards in your deck, and it'll be like a B then.
This card's for constructed.
Otherwise, you don't really want to put this card in your deck. If you don't have, we're gonna say like the Cyclops. If you don't have like 9 instants or sorceries, you don't put this card in your deck.
Yeah, but if you do, then it's like B minus.
If you do, then it's like a very solid creature,
Yep.
and a win condition.
So what did we say on it? You want to put the average C minus?
Said build around.
Oh, build around.
Yeah.
Build around B.
I don't think it's as good as B.
C plus.
I think it's like build around C plus.
Build around C plus.
Not the best build around. Not a super high ceiling, considering it's just a big dumb creature that can be chump blocked. But it's a win condition in your spells deck.
Definitely
Sometimes.
is.
And it is a spell itself, which helps.
High ceiling, high floor.
Speaking of high ceiling, high floor, roll reversal. The cheaper switcheroo that can also target planeswalkers, or any permanent type, really. I guess you could trade lands if you really want to. If you really need your one color that you're missing, you can do this.
Give me that blast zone.
But
son.
then at that point, you're like playing like... You're like splashing roll reversal, and you're like, oh, I really need a swamp. Have a swamp. Here, give me that swamp. I gave this card a B minus.
Shit, dude.
This card is...
for me,
I think this card is better than you think. There's a lot of expendable creatures, and it gets a lot better with expendable creatures. But there's also kind of expendable planeswalkers.
you said it was what?
A B plus. Or sorry, a B minus. But there's also a lot of expendable planeswalkers. Like if you have an uncommon planeswalker on 1, you can trade that for like their bomb planeswalker. Or you could trade like your 1/1 army for or devil token or servo token in the case of Sahili.
So pick this if your deck sucks.
No, you could just it doesn't require
it's
that.
so conditional.
It
What if your
doesn't-
opponent doesn't have good cards?
It doesn't
It's
require
just a
all that
waste.
setup. You always get to take the best card on the board. Like sometimes that'll be yours, and in that case you'll be winning, and you don't need it. But this card it's good. It's better. I mean, I don't know how we feel about Switcheroo, but Switcheroo's always been a good card in Limited, and this card's a lot better than Switcheroo.
All right, listen to Brandon. I'm not even gonna. I don't want to say mine. He's gonna cry.
I'm gonna say build around B minus. I think it can be even better than a B minus, but it's just hard to cast, so you don't take it early.
There you go.
Next up is Sahili.
Swahili. But first,
We just got 2 hosts.
Pippi 500 hosting us. Thanks, brother. Much love. Thank you. Then we got Seawalker 777, the luckiest of walkers. Thanks for the host, brother. Much appreciated. Going over some Magic the Gathering, telling you what cards are what and how good they are. So she makes a bunch of little tokens. Servos are probably some of the best artifacts in this set. Spoiler!
Sahili is not a card for every deck, but it is very good in the blue-red spells deck, especially since you can use her ability. She's one of those planeswalkers that in most decks you only play her for her passive. And her passive is very good. She's like a young pyromancer that's usually harder to kill, at least with removal. And she's a weird planeswalker in this set. It's like the only planeswalker you don't just like play it and minus it immediately for value. You minus her kind of as a finisher. Like you take one of your servos, you turn it into like one of your like into like a weird or like a Thunder Drake or the Strix, and then you play a bunch of spells and you just kind of like finish them right there.
Yeah.
Or you just like play a bunch of spells and get that servo to grow for like next turn or something. Like in the case of the Drake or the Weird.
Do not copy your army.
If you don't, no, don't copy your army. It'll just be a 0/0. You'll just
explode.
Make a sad servo in the graveyard. Saheeli's minus ability is kind of just a finisher. Otherwise, it doesn't really come. Although, one really sick combo with Saheeli is the Spellkeeper Weird. You turn your servo into a Weird, and then you sacrifice that Weird and get back the best spell in your graveyard.
Which is the return target planeswalker and creature.
Oh, man.
Yay!
That's like an infinite combo.
That's awesome.
It's so good with Saheeli. So, the decks you'll play Saheeli in are like the decks you'll play Young Pyromancer in. It's the same kind of decks that you'll play the Cyclops and Invade the City.
Invade the City, yeah.
Yeah. Play her. Play Saheeli in your blue and or red 9 spells deck. Although she does, and
Spellgorger Weird.
Actually, she's just kind of pretty good. Actually, I mean, yeah, play her in your Spellgorger Weirds decks or your
they keep the counters.
Your like low creature blue decks or whatever, because she triggers on a non-creature spell. So she triggers on other planeswalkers, on artifacts, and on instants and sorceries and enchantments to a lesser degree. But she's just a good value creature, or just she's kind of like a creature. She's like a good value planeswalker. You just play her. You make some 1/1s, which can protect your other planeswalkers or your life total while you cast your spells, and you set up, and then you can use her minus ability when you're ready to kill your opponent.
Sounds good.
So Saheeli,
for that being build around.
Yeah, I think Saheeli mostly gets a build around, and I think she gets like a build around B-.
Okay, I said C+ or B-, and that's mainly because like you have to have the cards to facilitate playing her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Railstorm Conduit.
Railstorm Conduit.
It's really good when you have 2.
Yeah, I mean you don't play both of them at the same time, but you draw them a lot more often, which is great, because Ral's great in the deck that he's great in.
Right?
I think you almost play Ral in almost every deck. Like, if you have it, you start drafting around him a little bit, but he's still just kind of good. Like, he just comes down on turn 4, and he pluses up to 6. Like, 6 loyalty is so much loyalty. And, like, his passive ability will help you kill other opposing planeswalkers, which is great. And you don't have to be your spells don't have to be that good when you're forking them, but when you're forking them when it's -2, things get kind of out of hand.
I think if you're playing less than 5 instants and sorceries, which will be very hard in blue and red,
then he's like a B-.
Then he's not playable.
You don't think he's playable at all?
With
less than 5 instants?
With less than 5? If you have 4 instants
and
sorceries?
I guess he only triggers off instant sorceries. Yeah, you wouldn't play him as just a Scry 1 engine.
So I mean, like, on average, I put him at C-, but, like, if you put him in the right deck, he could definitely be, like, a B+.
I think he could be even an A- in the right deck.
I could see that.
Like, you put him in this deck, and it'll be, like, the best card in your deck.
Like, on turn 6, you just, like, fork a greeting.
Yeah.
You, like, scry 2, kill 2 creatures, so you're like, oh, sweet.
Oh, and do 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker.
Yeah! And kill their planeswalkers that are...
Yeah. Ral is, I think, a build around B+.
Sounds good. Ral's Outburst. I love this card.
I love this card, too.
Card advantage, creature removal. It's
splashable. It's a 2-for-1. Doesn't kill everything, but it gets you some real good value.
I put B-.
B- for Ral's Outburst.
I could move up to a B, but like the damage of 3 is like kind of good.
Agree with that. I put Ral's Outburst at a B+.
Okay, I can move up to a B. I think if it was like 4 damage, B+ for sure. But like it replaces itself, which is really really good. That's why like I can see why it's going up to a B. But like
I'm
the 3 damage,
rating it a B+ right now. Like it's extremely good with Ral, and it's extremely good in the blue-red spells deck, but also you just kind of splash it, because it's just an amazing 2-for-1.
Yeah, exactly. But it's...
So I think it's like a B+ or B, depending on how much of the format this actually kills. But it's still good, even if opponent I mean, it's less good if your opponent has nothing but X4s or greater, but that's not really gonna happen. That's probably not gonna happen. They're gonna have something you can kill with it, and you're gonna get great value. So I think it's B+.
Okay.
On power level. I mean, that's gold card, so you pick it a little bit lower, but it's just great.
Yeah, I think if you're in one of those colors, you can splash if you have that ability. But being in blue-red means that your deck is going to be going towards a certain type of archetype. And, like, I think that's what's stopping me from going to B+, but I think it's B or B+.
It's
like,
definitely
it's
at
solid.
its best in blue-red.
It's the best spell that you can have for blue.
So let's enter the God Eternals.
Grats Rampage.
Grats Rampage.
Roar.
So I think only 1.5 of these modes are like real modes with Grats Rampage. Like it's never
artifact doesn't happen.
It's never gonna be dead. You're probably never gonna make them sacrifice an artifact. Usually you're just gonna make them sacrifice a planeswalker. In my experience, they'll usually have a creature that they don't mind throwing into it. So most of the time it's just target player sacrifices a planeswalker. But that's still solid.
CC plus.
The fact that it's like a planeswalker removal spell that's never quite dead, I give it a C+.
Alright, C+.
C+ for Grats Rampage. Next is Dreadhorde Butcher.
Dreadhorde Butcher.
I gave this card... This is another one of those cards that's like a bomb on curve and pretty bad otherwise. So like Krenko or Gideon, less so. Gideon's still pretty good off curve. So I gave this card a C+, just because
Me
like
too.
its floor is like a 1/1 that deals 1 damage. It's like a devil, but like it also has the ability to just run away with the game. If you play this on turn 2 and your opponent doesn't have a blocker, it becomes a 2/2. If they don't have a blocker again, or if you have a removal spell, it just gets bigger and bigger, and it becomes like a huge pain to deal with, or it just kills them.
Yeah, I think if it was just player, it might be a little bit worse than that, but like Planeswalker as well.
Mm-hmm.
The versatility that it gets, it's...
Okay, so C+,
C+.
for Dreadhorde Butcher.
Mayhem Devil!
Mayhem Devil.
Meow.
I gave Mayhem Devil also a C+. I think it's mostly just going to be like a really good engine in the sacrifice deck, but also it has a little bit other utility. Like sometimes your opponent will sacrifice something. Like you can force them to sacrifice something with an Grats Rampage or a Liliana's Triumph, or if they happen to sacrifice a Guild Globe, don't forget to deal 1 damage to them.
Get it?
And plus this card is just going to break the mirror in the sacrifice.
Oh,
break
yeah.
the sacrifice deck mirror in half. I had this card in the pre-release and it was almost good enough to beat Liliana with. Like, if I had attacked right and done enough damage to my opponent, they wouldn't have been able to ultimate Liliana without dying to this card.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's in the colors that you want it to be. It's
It does what you
it is
want to
a gold
do
card,
in
but
that deck.
Any target?
But I don't think it's something that you want to
Any
splash, so
target?
I'm not giving it a B.
No, C+ is good.
C+ for Mayhem Devil.
Angrath.
Next is Angrath. Ooh, I like
Solid.
Angrath.
I only gave him a C though.
Wow. That's kind of disrespectful.
I
I think Angrath is a B.
B?
And I think it's even a B+ in an assertive deck. The menace is so
An aggressive?
so relevant, and he kind of protects himself by amassing. Mostly what he does, he just comes down, makes a 2/2. You either trade that 2/2 off or turn it into a 4/4 next turn. And if they don't have pressure on Angrath, he just kind of takes over the game, and makes it really tough for your opponent to block. Menace is really powerful, it turns out.
Especially with Challenger Troll.
So I give Angrath a B or B+.
I'll
in the
give him a
right
B.
deck.
I don't want to push him
I
up
think he's
to
more
B+,
on average
though.
a B. It could be like a B- or a C+ in like a really defensive deck. But I think we can also go up to like a B+ in an aggressive deck. So I'm gonna give him a B, average B for Angrath. Just take him. You take him and you play him, and he goes in more decks than you think because of his hybrid mana. You play it in any red deck or black deck, and he'll be good.
And I think what pushes him to the B instead of a B- for me is that your creatures do get menace. So like in a super aggressive deck, or like not even super aggressive, like just an aggressive deck, like normal, fine, whatever.
Yeah, if your opponent's
awesome.
behind when you play Angrath, they're in a huge amount of trouble.
Widespread brutality.
Brutality. I gave Widespread Brutality an A-.
Ooh, I gave it a B+. I think like
I think you don't have to do that much work to make this a really good card. Like, you do have to have some other mass cards in your deck, because you're not really happy with like a 4-mana Pyroclasm that leaves you behind a 2/2. I don't love how it lets them keep their army creatures, so if they're playing army deck too somehow, which you're probably not going to have to come up very often in draft, but it did come up pretty often in sealed. But it's like I don't know, it's a solid board wipe. Maybe it should be a B+ though. Because it does require a little work to really. Yeah, I think.
If you have a lot of amass cards and then you can play into it, then it gets a ton better. But like,
it can get better than a B+, but I think on average it's going to be closer to B+ than anything.
I think I would have loved it at 3, but like 2, it doesn't hit everything that you want it to hit, and like that's
you're not really happy casting this when you have no army. You want to have some kind of army. If you have a 2/2 army when you play this, you're gonna be very happy.
She has a hat.
So B+ for Widespread Brutality. Next Leyline Prowler. I gave Leyline Prowler a B-.
I gave it C+ or B-, but
not quite
I'm gonna
premium removal level, but definitely a card I want in my deck if I'm in those colors.
Gains mana, has lifelink, has death touch. Like,
this is exactly what the green-black deck wants.
It's perfect.
It wants to ramp, it wants to color fix, and it wants to stay alive, and it wants to trade creatures. So Death Touch Lifelink is like perfect combination for this card.
B-. Death Sprout.
This is the other perfect card for green-black.
Oh, I love this card.
Death Sprout is great.
I put this in like a Jund deck, but like in limited.
Yeah,
it was just like,
I think Death Sprout's even better than Leyline Prowler, because I think
it is.
I don't think I'll be splashing Leyline Prowler, but I definitely could see splashing like the green on the Death Sprout. Obviously you don't splash the black, but you can splash the green, and it'll just be a premium removal spell, and it's gonna get you a land, so it's gonna ramp you, and it's gonna kill anything, and it's gonna be great.
Oh, here it is.
B for Death Sprout.
B, yeah.
Okay, B for Death Sprout.
I don't really like this guy.
Dorev, dvorkin Lich. You don't really like this guy? He's like a Neheb that's harder to cast, but still very similar. He's very similar to Neheb, but he's harder to cast.
I gave him a C+. I don't give him a C+ because of his mana, just because of his ability. Like, I just see him as like a 5/4 trampler, but like, I guess there are going to be some instances where you'll be able to benefit from his ability, but if your opponent sees it coming and he has to like survive a turn before you can like start attacking into it.
Well, it's gonna be like Neheb. They're just gonna like throw all their creatures in front of it and hope you have nothing. Okay. And if you have anything, they're just dead, because you can bring back any creature or planeswalker from your graveyard that didn't die this combat. So if you have a creature or planeswalker in your graveyard when you attack with this, you're gonna be very happy. I give this card a B+. I think it's really close to Neheb on power level. It's just harder to cast. Like, you're never playing this in anything but like black green.
Do you want to compromise to like a
or maybe
B
like
because of the mana cost?
Yeah, I mean he definitely goes down for like pack 1, pick 1 level, but like once you're in those colors, he's definitely a B+. But I'll go down to B just because of his kind of prohibitive mana cost. B for Dorev. Braska.
So hot right now, Braska.
Braska is another one of those. Another one of the really good uncommon planeswalkers.
Oh yeah,
she's one of the best ones.
The more I played with her, the more I found
I'm
she's
giving
like
Braska
good.
a B+.
Oh, okay.
I think she's in the elite tier of uncommon planeswalkers, and I think she's even a little bit better because of her hybrid mana cost makes her easier to cast. I think the elite tier of uncommon planeswalkers is like I think the big three for me are like Kaya, Kasmina, and Braska, and those are all 3 B pluses to me.
Gotcha. I feel like she's probably the second best to Kaya. The only thing that I like about her more than Kaya is that she's way more castable. And she comes down a few turns earlier. But like making an assassin,
still kind of a 2-for-1.
Making an assassin that could kill planeswalkers.
Yeah, these assassins,
they have to block that.
And if they don't,
Ooh.
it gets +1/+1 counter.
And that's dead.
Yeah.
So good.
I like Braska a lot. That's why I give her a B+.
Yeah, let's put her up to a B+.
Braska
she's
Swarm's Evidence gets a B+.
Oh,
Play her in all your green and or black decks.
Hoorah.
Casualties of
Casualties
War.
of War.
This card is
oh god,
also really hard to cast, so that's kind of a mark against it. If this card was like not double colored, I'd give it like a B, but I think otherwise I have to give it like a B- because you can only play this in one deck. You're not playing this card unless you are really committed to green and black.
I can see that.
And
I just think that this card, if you're able to cast it, if you're in the colors, I guess, is just pretty much one of the best removal spells. Like, granted, your opponent has to have those multiple things, but I think this is like one of the best or the best catch-up card.
Hey, remember when we cast Casualties of War for a 1-for-1?
Shut up. Tomek is hard to deal with, okay?
Our opponent had one non-land card on the battlefield, and it was Tomek. It was the only thing we could counter, even target with the Casualties of War in sealed. That was great.
But like,
I don't think that's going to come up very often because Tomek is a rare, and so is Casualties of War, but it's funny to think about.
And he's white. But like, I think there's enough mana fixing in
Would you give
green.
it a B+?
B+, dude. I think that this card catches
kind of
you
a
up.
B+ if you can cast it.
Yeah, but you're in green. You're gonna mana fix the hell out of this.
It's not
thing.
a bomb. It can like help you come back from behind, or like
this thing brings you back to parity. It kills like the worst planeswalker that they have, the best creature. It kills like a land which is like not even relevant. But like sometimes it can be, especially if they have like a way to make their lands into creatures. The artifact doesn't matter, and then like sometimes you'll hit an enchantment. But like 3-for-1s are like
I can't
bombs.
Give a B+ to something that can only be cast by like one archetype.
Okay.
Maybe like the green-white ramp deck with enough Horizon or New Horizons could cast this, but
what do you have?
I think it only goes on one deck. I'm at B- on this card.
I can go down to
I think on power level it's a B or
it's
B+.
Pretty powerful.
I think on power level it's a B or B+, but it does cost a lot of mana, and a lot of it is colored mana, which makes it hard to cast.
You definitely can't
All right,
splash it.
B or B- for Casualties of War.
Domri's Ambush.
Next is Domri's Ambush.
I think this is amazing as a sorcery ambush. This seems off. But you get a +1/+1 counter on your creature, and then it deals damage instead of fighting to either a creature or a planeswalker. So it's like the Thrash Threat of the new format. And like for you to get a +1/+1 counter on top of it is really good. The only thing that makes it horrible is that it's sorcery.
Fight. And it can target a planeswalker too. So don't forget that.
It's Thresh or Threat,
Chat.
but at sorcery speed.
Yeah, card's pretty great.
And even though it says ambush, it's slow as hell. I put it as a B- because it's one of the more premium removals for that archetype.
B-, we're in agreement.
Sweet.
And it's like the best thing you can target Feather with in this format.
Oh yeah. Domri,
and
this card is going to kill you if you cannot answer it.
Yep. That sounds like the definition of a bomb to me, Alex. I gave Domri a B+.
Bomb diggity.
He's a B+. He's makes your creatures stronger, he helps them fight, and he helps you ramp into your creatures, and he shuts down counterspells for some reason.
And he's 3 mana.
And he costs 3. B+, Domri.
B+. Living Twister.
Living Twister. I gave Living Twister a B-. It's a powerful card to take over late game where you can finish the people off, but man, is that thing hard to cast.
I said C+ because of the casting cost.
I think
it gets way better in the late game, but like if you're having to cast this card on like turn
like
6,
it's a B-, assuming that you can cast it, but it's like not an early pick because of the casting cost.
And it's not really like
so I could
see
C+. I'll come down on to C+.
Any target though,
just because it's hard to cast. You can splash the green.
5.
You can splash the green part. Don't splash the red part, guys.
Rubble Belt Riders. I almost said Rebels.
Also gave this a C+. This is kind of what Gruul wants to be doing, but also it's not triggering any of your 4 power things. It's just weird. It's awkward and weird.
I think that you have to do a lot of work to make this card good. And even though it has haste, top decking it when you're less than parity is just not good for you. I put it at a D+.
Wow.
I think
you'll play it. I mean,
the ceiling is high on this
You'll play it in your Gruul decks, but you're not going to splash it. So I guess it only goes in Gruul.
I could move it up to a C-. I could see that it's like maybe the 20 to 23rd card, but like I think that there's going to be a lot more cards in red-green that you want over this.
I think just on
especially since it's just a 0.
I think just on power level it's like a C+, but like it only goes in one deck. So like pick one. It is kind of like a D+.
Wicked Karma _TV and Mr. Meep, thanks for the hosting. Love you guys. Appreciate it. I'm going to stick with the C- on this one. I think that you need to have your creatures be good.
We call it a C- for like a pack one, pick one situation. Samut.
Everybody gets haste. You get haste. He gets haste.
So I was pretty down on this card until I saw it in play, and I like it better now. I didn't like how she didn't really protect herself, but if she's doing what she's supposed to on the kind of board that she's good on, you don't really need to protect her. She comes down, gives something big, makes something big, scries you 1, and gives you like a good attack. And then next turn is when she really, if you get to untap her, is when she really gets good. You play like another creature with haste and enable another attack, and then you're just kind of beating down.
And like the thing about her is that it's only a -1 instead of -2 like we normally see on these uncommon planeswalkers, and they start at 5. So like I think that pushes her up to like a C+ range.
I agree that she's a C+. But
that's sprint though.
Yeah, she casts Samet Sprint. I guess that's the joke.
Scry one's awesome.
Right, next card.
10th Street Legionnaire. So I think this was the main reason why I was saying like red-white was going to be the aggressive deck.
This is like this card is the reason that people think red-white is going to be like an aggressive heroic deck with like casting pump spells on their own creatures and stuff. Between this card and Feather, they're like, oh, it's like everyone's best guess the red-white is going to be like a heroic deck because like. You look at the rares and the uncommon see really pushes you, but this card's solid. It's not great. It's not even that good if you're not casting it on turn 2. So that's why I gave this card a C+.
I said C- or C+. Like you really need to pick up those pump spells to make it good. But like a 2-mana 2/2 with haste is super solid. So I can see keeping it as C+. But I mean, if you have like 2 pump spells, it's not good.
Well, yeah. I mean. I just said C+. Just like it's never a card. It's not a card you're ever going to cut from your red-white deck. And it'll make you take just like this card and Feather, which we'll get to shortly.
Right now, Feather.
It makes your pump spells a lot better, so you start taking those higher. Your next card is
That's true.
Feather. Feather is a 3/4 flying for red, white, white. And it has the ability where whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card, basically, instead of going to the graveyard, and then return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Feather has very solid stats and kind of a weird ability, but still a quite good card, I think.
I think this falls in the realm of like Living Twister, where it's kind of hard to cast. So you might not always necessarily be able to cast it on turn 3, which means that I would put it at a C-. But if you build more around it and you get those pump spells, I put it up to a B+, maybe even a A-, depending on the pump spells that you get.
So on average, what do you think she's going to be, like a B-?
Yeah, I could do like B with her.
I think Feather's like a B-.
B- it is. And she's an angel.
She is an angel.
I didn't know that until someone played a Lyra and attacked.
Oh, God.
I was like, really?
Get owned.
Speaking
of getting owned, Gideon got owned, and he came back to Theros, and now he gets to meet all his friends in the underworld.
Oh, hey.
That's what this card's about.
Dead Gideon.
That's about the best thing I can say about this card. The other thing I'll say about this card is, don't put it in your limited decks.
I said D+.
That's a D-.
Because you could definitely splash it in your like Spells Matter deck, and then you can pump up a lot of the things that you want.
Is that worth splashing, though?
I mean, it's like... Okay, if you're saying that... What would you say for this one?
I said D-.
D-? How's your 5/4 any better? You're discarding the same cards.
What 5/4?
Yeah.
Because
the
it's
effect
a
is
5/4 creature.
Alright, well this gets you an extra card.
This
in your
this
40-card
replaces itself. You draw that many cards +1, but you still played this card, so you have the same number of cards at the end.
And then you gain life equal to the cards in your hand?
Gain some life. I'm not convinced that this card is better than Honor the God Pharaoh.
I'm gonna be really hard pressed to even play
is
it.
Better than this card.
I think D+ is being nice.
I think D- is being nice.
Alright, split the difference. D at that crap.
Next is Nahiri. Which is kind of a weird one.
She's cray.
I think Nahiri is on power level about as good as Samut, but it goes in different kinds of decks. Like, Nahiri, you're mostly just playing her... She's kind of just like a removal spell. Like, they attack you, they have a tapped creature, you play your Nahiri, you kill that creature. And then you kind of try and protect Nahiri, and then your opponent might stop attacking, so you can't use Nahiri again. She's really good against small creatures, not so good against bigger creatures. I think Nahiri is kind of hard to evaluate, because, like, in the kind of deck that you want your creatures to have first strike on your turn, you don't really want, like, a card that only affects tapped creatures.
Yeah.
She comes down, and then she kills a tapped creature, and then I guess you can start racing at that point. Maybe that's Nahiri's power. She comes down, she kills a tapped creature, and then you start racing, and then they either, like, attack Nahiri, or if they attack you to, like, try and win the race, then Nahiri minuses again or something. But, like, it's hard to block your creatures when they have first strike, so I give Nahiri a C+, same as Hammett.
I originally gave her a D, and, like, the main reason was because, like, vigilance is everywhere. Like, there's hardly a time that you're going to be able to, like, kill a tapped creature. And, like, dealing X damage up to 6 is, like, pretty good when you're able to do that. But, I moved her back up to a C because, like, in the aggressive decks, in, like, the red-white decks, giving your guys first strike on your turn is pretty nice. And I think having that ability to all your creatures is definitely going to push you ahead, especially in the creature v creature aspect of it. For whatever reason, you could also ping your own creatures to be able to deal like 1 to your opponent if you have the stupid devils or whatever in the very fringe.
Wow, that is a really fringe use of Nahiri. When you really need to deal 1 damage to your opponent.
I was trying to figure out like when it would be good to be able to use it on your own guys because like vigilance is just like so prevalent in this format. I don't know, like everything gets vigilance, but The first strike does matter. There's no equipments in the format, so why?
There are 0 equipment in the format.
Why?
Don't get fooled by that part of her ability.
Why?
You know when Nahiri's really good?
When you have equipment?
Have you ever had Nahiri and Angrath on the board at the same time? It gets dumb. You know how hard it is to block when your opponent's creatures all have menace and first strike?
Yeah, but like when a creature has first strike, that's what you have to do, is you have to double block.
Yeah, but all your creatures have menace.
I don't know.
Makes it difficult for your opponent.
I can push her up to a C, but like she's very fringe and very. She's good in aggressive decks.
She might be a C. Is she that? I don't know if she's good.
First strike to your team.
All right, I'm gonna come down. I'll come down to C for Nahiri. I've been thinking about this card.
Solar flare. I mean,
I'm not really
solar
sure
blaze.
where it fits. Solar blaze.
I had a big question mark by this card. I originally said C- because I've noticed that there's a lot of discrepancy between the power and toughness of a lot of these creatures. So I'm open for your interpretation of it, but I think it's a decent board wipe, just in kind of awkward colors.
Originally, I said this was just a board build around card, which it kind of is, but I don't think you need to build around this card to make it playable. I think I eventually landed around like a B+ for this card. This is kind of a weird card because it's like a B+ splash card. Like, you don't really want to put this in your red-white deck unless you're like really building around it. There are some red-white cards at common and uncommon that don't really die to this, but I think enough stuff of your opponents will die to this, and you'll have enough information to be able to set this up and make it good.
I think you could splash it. I'll put it at B-. It's a Wrath effect, which is really good. You can value it a little bit harder, but I feel like it's a conditional board wipe.
I'll keep it at B, because it might not be the right context for this format. Like, there just might be enough creatures with bigger butts than they have toughness or than power, and if there's enough creatures like that, then that sucks for you.
B.
But I like how it at least will always kill an army every single time.
Yeah, that's true. So we got Huatli's
Raptor.
I could definitely.
This card has.
I wanted to go higher, but I just put it as a B-.
I also gave it a B-.
Okay.
I couldn't go as high as like B because that's like premium removal spot. But it's really good in the green-white deck.
Very mana efficient.
Always play in the green-white deck. It'll be good on turn 2 as a 2/3 vigilance that you can start putting counters on, and later in the game, it's just like a better druid, like a way better druid.
Yeah. And it's easier to get back with like Soren.
Yeah, and you'll want to be proliferating in the deck that you played this. So B- for Huatli's Raptor.
B-. A plot. No, I'm just kidding.
Please don't give it.
Don't. Just shut up.
I'm.
Huatli.
I don't really know how I feel about this card.
I did give it a lot of praise, but I think it's a D+. I think it's one of those cards that like you put in begrudgingly.
I think it's definitely a D-ish. Like, you can sort of build around it, but like, it's not high alert. You can't just build around it and your opponent won't be able to interact with it 90% of the time. It's a planeswalker. They can attack it and they can kill it.
Exactly.
Plus,
there's tons of ways to
plus
kill
Huatli is also not like high alert in so far as it doesn't. Why doesn't it let your defenders attack?
I have no idea. Are there defenders?
There's the 0/4. There's
The 0/3.
Teo's tokens.
Oh, okay.
The 0/3 Teo's Light Shield is not a defender, so it's still good with this card.
And it gives a +1/+1 counter.
But there's a 0/4 wall that scries you one.
I think
it would be really good with this card.
DD+, because like maybe sometimes you just need that life gain.
I'm gonna give her a D. Like, I think there's a deck that you
give
played
her the
in.
D.
It's probably a black-white deck. Like, I know Raphael Levy, one of his Pro Tour or Mythic Championship drafts, was a black-white deck with Huatli, and she was really good in that deck because he played her with those Tithe Takers or whatever they are.
The 1/5?
The Charity Extractors. Yeah, that
Gotcha.
card.
Okay.
So she was a solid role player in that deck, so I won't give her an F.
Pledge of Unity. I want this card to be so good.
This card is so good.
I want it to be so
It's really good in green-white, which is where you want it. And sometimes you can splash it. I think this card is a B-. It's not quite a bomb. I don't think it's like... I don't think it's like premium. It's not premium removal or bomb status, but like you can blow someone out with it, and it'll always be good in your green-white proliferate deck. Kind of exactly the kind of card you're looking for that deck.
Yeah, I put it as like a D if you're like maybe around like the 10 to 12 creature range. If you get up more towards like 16, C+.
Yeah, you do need a good amount of creatures to make it good. I agree with that. But I'm not going to call it a build around when the building around is putting creatures in your deck.
Johnny.
Johnny.
I really
Johnny
like this
is
guy.
like a way better version of Pledge of Unity.
Yeah, it sticks around. Gives you guys vigilance.
The vigilance
which
is
makes
very
the hearing
relevant
bad.
when your creatures are. Oh yeah, you don't want to be hearing against a Johnny.
So again, I did 2 different levels here. Like, actually, I'm gonna switch this. So like, if you're around the 10 to 12 range with creatures, and maybe you have like 4 planeswalkers or something. I put it as a C- because it's not always going to give you that advantage and that overwhelmingly powerful effect that it has. Because I feel like the potential for this card is really, really high.
Yeah, I think you are pretty happy splashing this card too.
Yeah, and at most, if you do have the creature base and the planeswalker base for it, so maybe you're foregoing like a lot of the spells, I think it could be up to a B+.
I think I gave him a B+.
All right, B+ it is.
B+ for a Johnny.
He's cool.
Next is Tolsmere.
Tolsmere, 50-cent card. He's gonna go way
Friend
over.
to wolves, Tolsmere.
His wolf is a friend.
Tolsmere. So Tolsmere has a lot of abilities, but basically he comes into play with a 3/3 wolf friend, Voja, and whenever wolf enters battlefield, which there are a couple other wolves, there's Arlen and Arlen's wolf. But you do get to gain 3 life and fight up to 1 target creature with your wolves every time you play one. And that's pretty powerful. And the fact that this comes together with the 3/3 for 5 mana is pretty powerful. He's a little hard to cast, so that's why I gave him a B-. Like, he's a good value creature, but he's probably not going to win the game on his own.
Because it is 2 creatures, and it can work with Arlen, even though you're casting them in the wrong order, on curve at least. I gave him a B+. He's removal, he's life gain, he's 2 creatures. At most, sometimes you need to like get rid of your wolf, but I just feel like he does a lot and pretty much everything you want in a creature in your green-white deck.
I think like as a first pick, he's probably like a B- just because of his like.
I would pick him pack one.
Pretty restrictive
like,
mana cost.
Yeah, but like you're in great colors.
Are you pick 1 pack 1? All right,
I would.
put it to the test. Are you taking it over Cruelty? Pick 1 pack 1.
Which one?
Omnixus is Cruelty.
Oh yeah.
You are?
Yeah. What? They're gonna kill the token instead of killing Tolsmere?
Yeah, I can
I'm
see
okay
that.
with that.
All
Sure.
right, I'll go B on Tolsmere. You can stay on B+.
All right.
It's fine. Maybe double green white means it really only goes in like 1 deck. Maybe 2. Next
yeah.
is Merfolk's Skydiver. Man, this card is pushed. This card just embarrasses Skyfolk, and that was just a great card, even in constructed.
Yeah.
This card is on its floor, a 2 mana 2/2 with flying, and proliferate. This card, I think the proliferate ability is the best thing about it. Just the ability to pay 3 blue-white and proliferate makes this card kind of nuts. And
we found the mana sink.
yeah, this is probably the best mana sink in the set. I gave this card, since it only really goes in 1 deck, you're probably not splashing it. I gave this a B-.
Okay. I had B or B+. I moved it up to B+ because it does have that great evasion, and we haven't really seen any mana sinks in these formats. I think where it's really going to shine is when you're going to go Bant. So like you're going to need the mana fixing, of course, but just having the ability to have the +1/+1 counters and then really get the value out of the proliferate means that it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be hard to pick one, pack one it. But if you like see it in pack 2, it's really strong. I don't know. I've found it to be like one of the better cards in a lot of my green-blue X decks. And like, granted, that's only been in sealed so far.
It's definitely a reason to be green-blue.
I'll go back down to
one of the better reasons to be green-blue. So B or B-.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You're not really splashing this card. Maybe you splash it. I mean, the mana sink might be worth splashing in like a green-white deck or something.
Yeah,
but
I mean, like,
deck's a little
proliferating just once
aggressive.
a turn is fine.
Yeah, this could be very powerful.
Be
Be a B- for Skydiver.
Neoform! Without powers combined. So I think this is... You can get around the build-around part of this, but I think it's more or less just a build-around deck type of card. You have to have the curve of creatures in your deck, and you have to have enough creatures to make this good. You don't really need a toolbox for it.
No. I mean, it's only usable once.
But you do get the +1/+1 counter on the creature, and then you can just start proliferating it. I think the reason why I feel like Mowu is so good is because someone did that to me.
Then you...
And it was just horrible. Like, I couldn't deal with the Mowu after that. They're just like, oh, I'll just Neoform it. I'm like, okay.
I don't think Mowu needs Neoform to be good, and
They don't, but it's hard to beat that.
I think Neoform is a good card in Limited. I think it's like a D. I think it's sort of C playing it, maybe.
I think, but
in most cases, it's just gonna be bad. Like, you're gonna have... The creature that you're getting is gonna have to be so good in your deck to be worth this.
Being able to play it. Yeah, so like I think it's a build around for sure. And if you get the right cards for it, it can be like a B-, but I don't think you normally want this in that type of strategy.
I'm gonna say D.
D is fine.
You'll play it in some decks. You probably when you have insane enough creatures, you probably know when it's right to play it.
Yeah.
D for Neoform. Next is Kiora.
We found it!
Behemoth Beckoner.
We found it! What the hell is his name?
What?
The Crunch Planeswalker?
The Crunchwalker?
Crunchwalker! You get your 4-power creatures with a draw card.
You definitely play it in that deck. I don't think you... I mean, Kiora ramps, or she gives Vigilance, which is pretty flexible. She has a ton of loyalty, and her ability only costs 1. So don't underestimate that. And, like, if you get to draw, like, 1 or 2 cards off of Kiora during the game, she's going to be great. So
yeah.
You play her in your... How many...
But I feel like it's going against your strategy.
If you have, like, 7 creatures with power 4 or greater, I think you play her. And I think even if you have less than that and you want the ramp, you probably play her, too.
So yeah, ramp decks wanted for
She's
sure.
Really good. She's really good with New Horizons too, because she
Yeah.
can untap that land to give you 2 extra mana instead.
So I think for that reason, I gave her a C, but I think she's probably closer to like D+. She's just not for every deck.
I gave her like a build around B-. Like in that deck, I think she's like a B-, or a deck like that. Like either you really want to be ramping, or you really have a lot of 4-power creatures, then she's gonna be great. Otherwise, probably don't put her in your deck.
B- build around or less than a C. Tamio. We got to trade. I should probably put this up higher. The restriction is that you have to be in blue-green, which means that you could want to mill yourself. It makes your Spells Matters deck and cards that facilitate that a little bit better. So you might have to be like 3 colors, but I just gave her a C+. I think what she's able to do is really solid, and it also allows you to not sacrifice anything because of your opponent's abilities, and I think that's pretty important for some of these cards.
Is that
Like
really
Gideon's
that relevant?
It's Gideon's approach,
It shuts down
Liliana,
Gideon's and Liliana's triumphs.
the red-black spell.
Angra's Rampage. Or
There's
whatever.
one other big one.
Liliana's ultimate.
Liliana's ultimate. I guess Liliana herself, but I think there was another one.
Yeah.
But like,
She's not really a hard counter to Liliana though. Like Liliana just plussing is gonna like probably outvalue Tamiyo.
in the first 2 weeks, she is just a straight counter because no one's gonna read it. I play constructed with this card. I've been duressed like probably once every 3 games, and like then this flashes and gains on fire, and then they're like, "Oops." I'm like, yeah. I think this is probably for more constructive.
Oh, this doesn't like even give you hexproof against those things. So they cast it, it just does nothing.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Constructed. I think she's above replacement value. I think she's like a B minus.
B minus. I could push her up
you
there.
could splash for her. The better the cards in your deck are, the better she gets because she'll be able to find them. She also gets better if you have multiples of cards in your deck that you want to get. And just her -3, her being able to -3 and then plus and then -3 again is pretty solid. She's got like the best card back from your graveyard.
Just know your deck. Know your deck. Know what your outs
If you're gonna
are.
play with Tamiyo, play with like a screenshot of your deck.
Yeah.
Or think about like the cards you'll want to get with her.
So B minus.
B minus for Tamiyo.
Bioessence Hydra.
Bioessence Hydra's next.
I want to say this isn't build around, but it's build around.
It is kind of built around like a 4/4 trample for 5
Scary.
mana.
Hello.
It's not really what you want.
Ghosts. Sorry. Ghosts.
Ghost.
Yep.
Did you eat?
I thought that was your wife.
Oh, it is. Not yet, but we're almost done.
What are you guys doing?
Doing a
Set review.
set review. 80830
You ought to be eating?
for the timestamp. Not yet.
Oh. Yeah.
80830 please.
You want me
And
to make your job easier for editing?
yeah.
So greedy. Oh my
All right, so we got Bioessence Hydra. The thing that most people probably will forget or not know is that when you play a Planeswalker, they gain those loyalty counters.
Yeah, so I think this card is like, if you have no planeswalkers in your deck, a 4/4 for 5 mana with trample is like, what? Like a C?
Well,
C
it's
minus?
blue-green.
C minus?
C minus.
Yeah, it was like a C minus if you have no planeswalkers. If you have like 3 or more planeswalkers, it's probably closer to like a B minus.
That's
And,
what I
like
have down.
sometimes you're just gonna have some insane curves with this card.
Oh yeah. Yeah, most definitely. And like
Like just imagine casting this. This is the kind of card that if I have it in my deck or in my hand, maybe I don't minus my Kasmina when I cast her on 4. If you go Kasmina into this, you're just like, alright, this is a 9/9 that's gonna cost you 2 more to interact with. Have fun.
have fun.
So
And then like
B minus
also,
if you have a good amount of planeswalkers, otherwise C minus.
Also, play with Kiora.
Oh my
Play with Kiora. Just doesn't even matter. Just do it.
This could just be a 10/10 on turn 4 with Kiora.
It is. That's cool.
That's dumb. Yeah, that's really good with Kiora.
This card.
This card's also good with Kiora.
This is really good.
This card's just really good in general. It's hard to cast, but it's so powerful.
The payoff is really high. I put it as a B+.
Rolas gets a B+ from Alex. Where is he?
I think it kind of sucks that you have to like focus down and like kind of work around the mana with this, but I mean
Why can't I find him?
it's on the first page. with the half red, half color. Yeah, there you go. Bottom right.
Oh, okay. There it
A.
is.
Whoa.
I gave him an A-.
I can definitely see that.
This card's stats are just so insane.
It's
You play him, he's got flying, he's got trample, he's a 4/5, he's gonna make something get +2/+2, and if they kill it, that thing's gonna get at least that thing that got +2/+2 is gonna get another +2/+2. Proliferate and proliferate again is so powerful.
say hello to Mowu. He gets 4 counters.
4 more counters.
4 more counters.
Curve this thing, Mowu into this thing.
Ooh.
Mowu's that's all of a sudden 7/7, and then if
11.
Rolesk dies, he's an 11/11, and then they're dead.
They're dead.
All right,
Good game.
Rolesk A-, take it over any common or uncommon.
I'll push it.
Put it in your deck, splash it in your green decks, play it in your Simic decks for sure.
Yep.
Nico Bolas, Dragon God.
So, power level A. His power level
is
just just about power level. It's in like an A, right?
I think his power level is like a B.
B.
I mean, his plus ability is really good. He's really kind of bad when you're behind on the battlefield.
But it can be like
He
any
doesn't have,
planeswalker.
and his loyalty is so low, and he's hard to cast. Look at that casting cost, man.
Solely on the casting cost, I put him down to a C minus
Wow, you put him down to a C minus
because of his casting cost. You have to go Grixis. You can't pick one, pack one this unless you're like insane.
I mean, you can rare draft it, but you don't pick one, pack one this at a Grand Prix. Or
only if it's
the
foil.
Mythic Championship. I have a foil one of these. It's only $80.
Yeah, no.
I'm not sacrificing a GP draft for $80.
Pylons. Thanks for the host, brother.
It's powerful if you can cast it. It's almost a build around just because of how hard it is to cast.
I think if you're like really into black and then you're either red or blue, you can try to splash it. But like you need a lot of stuff to go right.
You have to be heavy black. You want like 9 black sources, and then you either splash red and or blue to play it. It's really good if you can protect it. It's not very good when you're behind, just coming down and then going to 1 loyalty to destroy something. Not really what you want to be doing.
I think I can
it's
push
powerful.
this up to like a B if you like.
I'm saying B.
I'm only gonna say B if you can get 2 gates or more, or maybe like an or like a beacon.
Yeah.
Like if you have some mana fixing or ways to be able to cast him, then yeah. Otherwise, he's just a C. Like you can't.
I think he's powerful enough to be like a B or a B plus, but like.
So like casting cost
he's just
wise,
hard to cast, so I have to downgrade him a little bit.
I have to downgrade him a lot. I think his power level's like A minus. Like it could potentially win the game, especially when you can copy any planeswalker ability you want. So like you could wait until the perfect time.
That's actually not very relevant. Usually
it can be.
He always has the best plus ability though.
Draw a card, make your opponent.
He might not always have the best minus ability, but he's always gonna have the best plus ability.
Yeah.
It's just his plus ability is so powerful.
But like
so
if
you just put him in play, if you can protect him for a couple of turns, you'll be in a really good position.
We'll just like put him in with like Ral, and then he can +2 all the live long day. And then he gets like to -8 fast. I don't know. I just took the average. Like the casting cost is like almost a D. And then like his power level's an A.
I played him in sealed.
I'll play him in sealed.
I cast him 1 time. There was other times I could have cast him, but I was already winning, so I didn't. Basically, the best I did with him is I played him on turn 6. I could have played him on turn 5, but I played a blast zone because I wanted to proliferate my blast zone.
I am just
so I
surprised
played
you were
him,
able to
and I proliferated him twice, and then my opponent died on turn 8 to his ultimate.
There you go. Pick it to have fun.
I'm gonna say he's a B. It's like a B.
On
power level, it could be a B plus, maybe an A minus.
Power level B plus.
But he's just so
playability.
So hard to play.
C minus. Playability, like.
Yeah, I mean,
because you can't pick him until like pack 2 or 3, right? Like, are you...
I don't know. I could see picking him pack 1 out of like a bad pack, or if I was already like in heavy black. I don't know.
Question mark.
Let's just say I'm just gonna say a B. That's
B. Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
He's really powerful.
This card's also really powerful
No,
and
no.
really hard to cast.
I put it as F or as an A. It's going to be an A when your base is like green and you have mana fixing up the yin yang.
Yeah.
And then you can have like some multicolored spells, but like
He's like a good finisher in like
he's just an F. You can't cast this.
multicolor bomb, like a I don't know, like the 5-color green deck probably.
Yeah.
I had my doubts about him too. Okay, I originally put him at D-, but I moved him to D because there were some decks that he was quite good in at the Pro Tour, and he's more castable than I thought apparently. But he's almost like a build around. It's like a I don't know. I think on average he's like a D, and he's like a build around B+.
He could like he nets
Build
so he looks at the top 10, right?
Build around. Oh, you have to build around him so much though. Like you have to take all the fixing,
Not too bad.
and you have to have all these gold cards in your deck to make him good.
Yeah, but like most of the gold cards are like
Yeah, most of
decent.
the gold cards are great, but there actually aren't that many of them. This isn't a guild set.
Yeah, but you're looking at by the time you cast him, maybe like half or like a third of your deck between there.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge amount of cards to look at in like a limited environment. And like I don't know, a 6/6 flyer is really good.
Alright,
but
so how good is he if you build around him? Like you take your mana fixing highly, and let's say you have like 5 gold cards in your deck, which I think is pretty generous. I don't think you're usually gonna have more than that. Honey Bun, thank you for the host. Thank you
Honey
for
Bun!
the support. Much love.
Grazie.
But so if you're building around him, how good do you think he is? That
I said that he could go up to an A.
all the way up to an A.
If you have 5 cards that are multicolored that you haven't drawn yet, you need to. I mean, like you could play it turn 4, turn 1, turn 2.
Oh, I could
You
go
can
up
play
to
turn 4.
I could go up to like a build around A-, probably.
I think that's fine, but like
I don't know if I want to
think
go
that-
all up to an A because he's not really like. It's not winning the game for you like immediately. Like, he's giving you a lot of value, and he's a big flyer, but like they can deal with it and still kind of like tempo you out. And he's not really dealing with the board when he comes down.
I think this is just like a bragging card. Like I built it.
It might
and
just
I did
be.
this.
He might just be a meme.
Meme.
I kind of thought he might be in limited too, but apparently there were good new visit decks at the Pro Tour, so
Okay.
I'm willing to give him a second chance, I guess.
He's even a dragon for Sarkin.
He is. He's the only other dragon for Sarkin, I think.